Hello guys, welcome to Techie Handbook. In this video, I'm going to share the basics of web development. I tried to explain the concepts in a simpler terms. So this video will be useful for all type of audience. So this video is going to give more insights about web development and the important terminologies we should know if we wanted to become a web developer. So guys, let's get into the video and look at the details. Let's understand what is web development. Web development is the process of making a website. It's just an art of making a website. A website is nothing but a collection of web pages. If you visit a website, the first thing you will notice is a page. So the page which is presented in a website is called a web page. Websites are made for a purpose. We have websites for education purpose, travel related, shopping, banking systems and healthcare systems everywhere. Websites will be hosted in World Wide Web. So World Wide Web is nothing but a system which enables our websites accessible over the internet. Publicly available websites are known as internet websites. Websites which are accessible only to the specific set of people is called as intranet websites. This is a high level overview. Let's get into more details. Let's start this explanation from the user's perspective. If anybody wants to access a website, what are the most important things we needed? First thing what we need is a web browser and a URL. So without both of this, we will not be able to get into the website. Web browser is the place from where our search starts. So if you wanted to visit any website, this is the place user will go and put in their URL and request for a website. We have lot of web browsers available in the market: Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Opera. So for every different types of operating system, we have different browsers available. The next important thing is a URL. If you wanted to visit a website, you need to have a unique URL to identify your website. So URL is a universal resource locator which locates your website using your unique website name. URL has two important parts in it. One is protocol and another one is domain name. Domain name of a URL is nothing but the main portion of URL. The domain names will be always unique and it will be almost like your website name. If you look at any website URL, protocol will be the starting point of your website. For example, if you're typing google.com in your browser, you can see that HTTPS will be automatically added in front of the URL like https colon /google.com. Let's talk a bit more about protocol. We usually request for a website and will wait for a response. So requesting end is called client and the responding end is called server. So we need a mediator to communicate between client and server. That is where the protocol comes into the picture. Protocol acts as a mediator between client and server and exchange the request and response between them. For example, if a government pass some rules to the public, we always have to follow the protocol. It is almost the same way. Both server and client should comply the rules of protocol if they want to communicate between them. From the development perspective, we don't need to write any specific coding or a logic to handle the protocols. It is all already written and it will be automatically taken care. Now we got introduced to the few more important terms: client, server, request and response. Let's understand them one by one. The client is the one who is always requesting for a website, and server is the one which always serves you the response. Usually, the server holds all the responses within it, and whenever the request comes in from the client, it will serve the response. So this is called as client server communication. So this is an exchange of resources between one end to another, which is from client to server and again server to client as a response. Request is nothing but our request, any request. When if you are searching for a website, searching website is your request. So the response will be based on your URL. The respective website will be searched and sent as a response back to the client. That is called response. Client and server are always a common terms. Here we are searching for a website. So our client is a web client and always the server is a web server. Web server stores a collection of websites in it and it will give the response whenever the request comes in from the web client. Now let's look at how the response looks like for any website request. Whenever we search for any website, what we get as a response is a web page. If you look at the image which is presented here, web page contains a content and also images. The content of website can be in any form. It can be a plain text or it can have images and also animations and everything. The technology which is used to present content in a desired form is called HTML. And also designing them with the different colors, styles and fonts all will be done using a cascading style set which is called as CSS. Another important technology which we use in web development nowadays is JavaScript. JavaScript is basically a programming language. It's a client side programming language and it works with browser. It helps to apply any logic if needed on content before it will be presented into the web page. The content will be represented as a data and the place where the data is stored is called as database. If we need any data from database, we need to query them. SQL is the most commonly used query language which is used across the different databases. Here I made a simple web architecture diagram. Look at the starting point of a diagram. Client. So client is the starting point of any web architecture. Client always sends a request. Client uses the browsers and requests website using a URL. Once the request is initiated from the client side, protocol takes the URL and sends the request to web server. What the web server will do is, once it's received a request, it will get the data from database and process the content and sends the response back to the web client. So again, protocol will take the response back from web server and sends them to the browser. Once the response is received to the browser will render the content into the HTML elements and apply the style sheets whatever is required and it will present them in a required format in screen. Now the user can see the properly formatted web page as a result of their website request. So now the request from client is served with a response. Now let's understand two more important terminologies which is commonly used in web development. They are front-end and back-end. Front-end is nothing but the client side and back-end is nothing but the server side. Any technologies like HTML, CSS and JavaScript which are used to create a front-end is called front-end technologies. Nowadays, there are a lot of JavaScript based frameworks are available. For example, React JS, Angular, Vue.js, Node.js, and etc. So these frameworks are called as front-end technologies. Backend is server side, the place where the content is processed. So any technology which is used here is called backend technologies. Nowadays, web services are the most used backend part. So the web service can be developed using any technologies. Java, .NET. So these kind of technologies are used to create a web service and they are called as server-side technologies. Node.js is another JavaScript based technology which is also used to create web services. So, guys, hope this content is useful and you are able to learn the basics of web development. Thanks for watching, and let's meet at the next useful content. Bye.